Lesson 1-2, Order of Operations. Essential question. How do you use the order of operations to evaluate an expression? The vocab word for this lesson is evaluate, which just means to solve. So we are going to solve all of the expressions that we see in this lesson. So it says evaluate the algebraic expression using the order of operations. So the expression we're given is 4b minus 3a squared plus c. So in order to be able to solve this, we're going to take the a equals 1, b equals 3, and c equals 5 and plug them into our expression for those variables. So first I'm going to copy the original problem. 4b minus 3a squared plus c. So then if I take my variables and replace them with numbers, instead of writing a b, I'm going to write a 3. I'm going to replace a with 1, and I'm going to replace c with 5. Then I'm going to do PEMDAS to get my answer. So I do have parentheses on this problem, but I just have a 3 in parentheses and a 1 in parentheses. Since I just have one number in both of those parentheses, I don't need to do anything else with them. So I'm going to move on to the next letter, which is E, exponents. So you'll notice right here, I have the number 1 squared. Now keep in mind, you're not going to do 3 times 1 and square it, because then we'd be doing multiplication before we do our exponents. Just 1 is being squared. So I'm going to take 1 squared, which is 1 times 1, which is 1, and now I'm done with my exponents. So I'll just copy down the rest of the problem. So I'm done with my exponents. Now I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. I don't have any division, but I have 2 times where I have to multiply. 4 times 3 is the first multiplication, so that's 12. So copy the rest of the problem. And then I've also got 3 times 1 for my other multiplication. 3 times 1 is 3. So then we're done with that part. And then all we have left is addition and subtraction. Now we're going to add and subtract from left to right. So the first one that comes is the subtraction. So 12 minus 3 is 9. And 9 plus 5 is 14. So 14 is my answer for that problem. All right, second one, same thing, except our expression looks a little bit different. So I'm going to copy down the original expression again, a squared times 3b minus 2ac divided by c. Now keep in mind that this time our variables are different numbers as well. A is 2 this time, b is 6, c is 4. So a squared, so 2 squared, 3 times 6 minus 2 times a times c divided by c. If it helps you on this one as well, if you want to put these in parentheses, you can. Whatever is easiest for you, but there's a lot of multiplication that's going to happen on this problem. So I would start with the parentheses when I'm doing PEMDAS. And in my parentheses, I have multiplication and subtraction. So let's just start with doing 3 times 6, which is 18. Copy the rest of the problem down. So now in my parentheses, I've just got multiplication and subtraction. Now I'm actually going to be multiplying 3 numbers, so I'm just going to do that all at once. So I'm going to take 2 times 2 times 4 and just write what I get there. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'll copy the rest down. So now I've just got one thing left in my parentheses, and that's 18 minus 16, which is 2. So now I can finally cross off my parentheses. I'm done with that part of PEMDAS. So now I'm going to move to exponents. I do have an exponent. 2 squared is 4. So cross off exponent, and then remember I have to multiply and divide from left to right. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So 2 is my answer. All right, again another one, similar to the last two. A times 2b divided by b minus c squared. So I'll replace my a with 4, my b with 6, and my c with 2. All right, so this time I've got brackets and parentheses. So I will start on whatever is on the inside, which is my 6 minus 2 here, which is going to give me 4. So now I've got just the 4 in my parentheses, so that parenthesis, that part is done. So now I can work with the multiplication and the division. So if I've got 2 times 6 divided by 4, I've got to go from left to right. So I'm going to do 2 times 6 first. Now I've got just division left. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now here's the tricky part. A lot of people see this problem and they take 4 times 3 and they get 12 and then they square it and say the answer is 144. But the problem with that is you can't multiply the 4 and the 3 before you do the exponent. You have to do the exponent first because that's what order PEMDAS tells you to go in. So if I take the exponent, which would just be 3 squared, that gives me 9. And then if I keep the 4 out in front, now I do the multiplication. 4 times 9 is 36. So your answer should not be 144, it should be 36. If you got 144, you multiplied before you did your exponent. Summary. Using the order of operations to evaluate an expression involves